love the piano so much that I decided to do something that I've never done before, and it's just to do like a full outro. It's almost like 3 minutes of piano. So it goes like, then the drum starts, and it's just basically. This is either very DJ unfriendly or very DJ friendly. I've played it at the end of the night in Montreal once, and the last part of the piano, people were just loving it. It was kind of an experience because you never get to hear something like that. So, that was at Salon d'Armée. That's where I play on a regular basis for 10 years now. So on this track, all analog gear. So just wanted to maybe showcase that a little bit. The other one was too, but on this one, for example, let's go in the keys, which will have a lot of things. But so this is a combination of a Roland SH9, which is in the same series of the 101. During the break, if you guys want to check it or whatever, come feel free. And it's the other one is Prophet 8, which is made here by Dave Smith Instrument, who used to do a sequential circuit. So again, the depth, I can't get that from a soft synth. I know maybe I'm just not good at it, but I just think that like the hardware synth that really have this depth, and not only that, but I can really do some stuff that I wouldn't just by turning the knobs. And like, I'm gonna try to find some moments where it's a little bit more crazy. Oh, then there's a Moog on top of it now. I can't find the crazy moments now. Just because I'm looking for them, huh? Whatever. Anyways, so that's my love for analog. And vocals, again, a bit similar, but this time I didn't record them, so I used this and just kind of made a sequence out of that. Made it kind of stereo. So nice to see you. And there's a lot of good delay plugins available, like Sound Toys and everything, but when you just need something like really quick, this is very, very classic. That 1/8 dotted dub on Logic. I mean, it's been used to death. I turn off the LFO and depth because I don't want that wow and fluter that you usually get on tape. If I want that, I'll use the real tape. But if you just want to have like something like, it's just, it always works. So, okay, we got that. So nothing really fancy in the vocals here. It's just basically what they've given me, and I cut the parts that I wanted. Okay, let's move on to the piano, for example, just so you can hear like. So I didn't do anything to the piano, so it's really, you can hear like it's been really well recorded. That's more analog than a Moog, for sure. Drums. I've been getting into this native instrument machine thing lately, which I really like. Up until recently, though, I was kind of a slave to the MPC 3000, which I still have and I love. It's just got a sound. So basically, the drums were done. You can hear that it's pretty punchy because all these old drum machines, they had like, you were working with such like loud converters and everything. The engine was very different than just doing something. You can get some great stuff with this, but it's just not gonna have that kind of punch. and in there you got like all kinds of things. You've got, oh yeah, I remember this when I played the shakers, I played a tambourine on that. And then another thing, there's a bit of vocal in there. So, where is it? Okay, there. So that's what I was saying. When you have like anything like in the vocals, just use all these little bits because they can become really nice. Use like a side chain on that, probably the kick going inside the vocal, I think, and you get this really nice like rhythmic thing in the background. So that's for the drums. And again, you know, earlier I was talking about the context. You know, if you're using like, if you have a, you want to emphasize the story that they're telling. So here the guy is talking about like, if this is a dream, don't wake me. So he's like, he's thinking he's in a dream. So basically, I decided to do this crazy breakdown where it feels to me like this is kind of a dream because it doesn't really make sense. It's like, and it sounds very circus type. And I've used some of the parts that he gave me. So you'll hear here. This was too loud. It's a dream. Don't wake me. I am exactly where I want to be. You got the bachata that comes out of nowhere. You don't even know what it's doing there. Again, it goes back to the so deep, so you want to keep like that vibe. I don't know. This is just yeah, I don't know. There's all kinds of things. I was using the files that they were giving me and just kind of constructing something like that. And that kind of happened at a weird time too, because I was working on it, and drums stop. I don't know. That's another good thing, guys. Is like to really use the accidents that happen because sometimes they're so amazing. When you copy your drums wrongly and then it stops, it's often time for a break. Speaking of break, we'll have a break soon in a couple minutes. Yeah, that's about it for this track. Yeah, again, you know, at the end of the track, I just decided to go like for that kind of crazy like atmosphere. There's a lot more layers than what you see here, like except for the first track, which I had more parts. The ones that I'm going to show you after, they're really like they're stemmed together. So, which is actually very good for mixing. So when you're happy, that's another thing. Is like when you're happy, like the way like these sounds together, you know, you can stem them. Or if you're working on an album project and I was gonna say the record label has money to send you to mix it, which doesn't exist anymore. But if you want to, you know, take it to another studio, the good thing would be like, well, you know, you show up with like 8 stereo tracks instead of going there with like all your plugins and your and then also it teaches you to commit, you know, because after a while, you know, I'm sure it happened to you. You listen to the same thing over and over, and then you know that suddenly you want to move that shaker a little bit, suddenly you don't hear it anymore, or you want to turn it down and then you fuck up your old balance. So if you commit to that, that's that, and you build the rest on top of it. You know, you can always change it a little bit. For example, here there's some little annoying frequency just for this session. You know, I took out a little bit. You can still do that, or you can go to a good studio, pass all these stems through a nice board like a Neve, you know, or SSL or whatever, and you can like, you know, bring it back in your session. Any quick question, yeah, before we go on quick break, yeah, Mike.
Just a quick question. On the claps here, they don't sound. I can't hear much reverb on them, and I'm wondering, in your productions, do you use a lot of reverb on your claps and snares and hi hats?
It depends. Um, there's absolutely no rules for those things. It's what you're trying to create. Let me just hear it now because
Oh,
there is
nice. Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
yeah, there is. Um, it just depends. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have a little bit. Sometimes you don't want any. If you're doing something super clubby and stripped down, and that might just take out of the energy. My stuff is usually a bit kind of more dreamy and dubby, so there's always some those elements. And some of the new tracks, if I have time, I'll show you guys some tracks that I'm working on right now, which are kind of more like slower disco, and the claps have a lot of reverb in it, and I left that intentionally. So it just depends what you want.
The way it moves through me, the way it soothes me so soothing, it's so soothing.
Okay, well, this is my newly redesigned little studio space, so I can show you a little bit where I work. So it's tiny, so it looks a bit bigger than it is, but it's basically the loft where we live. So it's the lower room here. I just redesigned it actually now, so you can see a little bit my collection. You've got the SH101 as you see here. This is an old drum machine, the TR606, Juno 106. So all of these are Roland so far. 106, very very famous. SH9. This is a little programmer for. I have other synths here in racks for my MKS50, which is a Juno one. This is the Prophet 8 that I was talking about earlier, made here in the Bay Area. This is the Nord Electro, my sorry excuse for my Fender Rhodes that I left back home because I couldn't move. Is a sync box. In here, the Space Echo, tape echo, little micro Korg. Then I have a couple of racks here. One of them that I use a lot is the Oberheim Matrix 1000. I wish I had a controller for it, but I don't. I have Yamaha, Studio Electronics, ATC, and this is like a really. I don't know if I can make it bigger. I have another picture. What's that? No, 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 no. It's under it is a Kai S612. It's like the worst sampler in the universe, but it's only one sample at a time, and you can get the tone. Whenever you put a sound through it, you get this amazing dirty tone. It's Herbert. That's Herbert's favorite sampler. He uses it to record all his voice, percussion, and everything. It's also very popular with Charles Webster and at jazz. So maybe I have the other pictures. Oh, this is just to show you. I didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about listening environment. This is the orotones. You also call it the horror tones because it's a shit box basically. That's what they use to reference from like in the 70s just to know how it sounds on the small speakers. A lot of people use NS10s, which I used to, but I didn't move them with me. So it's always good to have a couple of things in your studio to listen to in different environment. Um, Not only that, so I'd say like a couple of different set of speakers that do like different things, give you a different point of view, but also things as stupid as like get outside your room. If you're like working from home, let the music play, listen to it from another room. It'll give you a complete different perspective. And in fact, I've read that after that I've been doing that, and I thought I was completely crazy. I've read that engineers do that too. And another thing that sounds pretty crazy, take your iPhone or whatever your phone is, just record the track while it's playing, re-listen to it on the little speakers, and you'll get like a completely different vibe. Sometimes those loudspeakers can be kind of uh, deceiving, because they're kind of overwhelming. They give you too much information. And sometimes it's almost like too much, and you kind of lose the vibe by overthinking. So,
But did you mean
yeah,
record,
I'm s-
record the track on the iPhone or record on the iPhone the track?
isn't that the same thing?
Oh, you said, like,
Like, for example, you just use the whatever recorder you have, just leave it there. It just when you play it back, you just get a different vibe. I know it sounds pretty crazy, but when you spend so much time working on a track and listening to it, you lose the flow, and then you start thinking in frequencies and things like that, and that's not always good. Sometimes too much precision is not good. So this is the other view from the studio. Don't mind the way those speakers are placed. It's not supposed to be like that, but when I installed these on the wall, I miscalculated, so now they're stuck like that. So, and the mess with the cable, don't worry about that. And this is my my Moog Voyager 2, which is definitely one of my favorites. Uh, yeah, more of the same. Yeah, I use Tractor at home, but I'm still playing with CDs, and I don't know why this one is crooked, but you can see my rack a little bit better. Yamaha, Roland, Matrix 1000. That's the really bad sampler. And then I have a patch bay, MIDI interface for everything to talk to each other, a distressor, compressor, Avalon, API preamps, and these are expensive converters. Very expensive Universal Audio. They used to belong to this gentleman here. Yes. And then you just one more. Yeah?
So for your acoustic treatment in your room, is that mostly bass traps and just trying to cut down on small reflections? Is there
Yeah,
uh,
well, let's see if I mean, that's another thing. Uh, right now, it's not really well placed. Okay, there's a few things, well, the corner should be really like better taken care of. I built these myself. You can buy the kind of like pillowcases you put on top of fiberglass, two panels of fiberglass that I done myself, and then you put those on top. So they work really well, but yeah, you gotta. Every room is different. The bass needs to be trapped, but there's a couple of things, but don't think that it's like the perfect situation, and it's not. And in fact, it's never gonna be the perfect situation. My friend built a studio in Montreal. It cost him a fortune, and there's still some problems. I think the more you go in depth in that, the more you're gonna hear problems. And the fact of the matter is, you have to be able to really like hear what you're doing. That's for sure. But your music is never gonna get played in a perfect acoustic environment. So the most important thing is to know your speakers and know your room. So of course, you need like certain things because if the sound is bouncing too much, then it's crazy. But I think yeah, knowing your reference is definitely like the most important. Uh,
real quick?
yep.
So how do you know like what's going on in your really deep low end? Because I didn't see any sub up there, and it looked like
Oh, well,
like below
these
like 70 hertz down there. It must be kind of hard to tell in that room.
yeah, well, it's pretty bassy, Alvaro, in the room. Those little speakers right there, the one on top, they're focal. They're French speakers. They're very small. They're very, they're very. They get a lot of bass. So, bass is not really my biggest problem in there. I think the highs are, but then again, and you just learn. Sometimes what you think somebody will go to your house like, oh, it's too bassy. And like, no, 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 this is how it's gonna work somewhere else. So you kind of learn that. So that was just to show a little bit the studio. So I want to show like some of the new stuff that I'm working on. We were talking about like reverbs before. And this one I'm expecting a vocal from the singer from Crazy P. Hopefully that's gonna happen, so don't quote me on that, even if I'm on film now. So the rule number one when you do live like disco claps, well, these are not, they're really hard to record, so these are sampled from an old record, but you don't want them to be too tight ever. So you really want them to be loose and to feel like they've been done live, basically. So this track started with one sound, and just show how it evolved. This song that you hear in the back, this sequence from the Prophet 8, that's what started the song, and now it's not very important in the song. It is a little bit, but it's not like the main thing. So I think everything you hear in there is all analog synths too. So a couple of things about this is I think buying equipment sometimes can be really nice because you get like this new inspiration. So I just had this Oberheim. Oberheim is another company from here, the Tom Oberheim from the Bay Area as well. And I just bought this Matrix 1000. I ended up like using it on this, like on everything. All the keys pretty much are. There's 1,000 sound in there, so became really inspired by all this. Another feature that is kind of hidden in Logic here. If you go in your bar here, over here, and you do customize control transport bar, customize. There's this little thing that I heard a long time ago, but I didn't know that where it was. It's called capture recordings. You guys know what it is? Basically, it's you just play your track and you don't hit the record button. The record button can be very stressful for a lot of people. Whenever you're recording, same thing with singers. Always record even if they don't know it, especially if they don't know it. In fact, I think it was George Benson when he did a track with New York and Soul, You Can Do It Baby. I don't know if you guys know this, but it was basically the jam. The song was the jam that he did before, but they were lucky they recorded it basically.
The way it moves through me, the way it soothes me, so soothing.
So in this track, I just started messing with some sounds, and capture recordings will capture any MIDI that you play, not audio. So I was playing, and then I have like, where is it? Like, there's like some random piano in the back that sounds kind of like a Rhodes. Can you guys hear that? Well, that was just kind of me trying some things like a little bit different, like different kind of chord color. But I didn't want to record it But when I finished, I just hit this little button here, and boom, the MIDI file appeared. And I'm like, cool. Then I just recorded everything in audio. One way to do that, I don't know if any of you work really like with hardware synths and software. It's very, very tricky sometimes. I mean, most of the times, it's a pain in the ass really. But you go here and you open a software instrument. That's kind of something that I just recently discovered. Um, oh no, it's not gonna work because I don't have MIDI installed on this thing. Well, never mind. Basically, okay, there is a. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, okay, you open something called external instrument. You've got your MIDI destination where you want it to go and your input, your audio input. But before you do that, you gotta go to the scary environment. It's a very scary place. I used to not hang out there at all. Then you go and MIDI instrument. You have to do like a new MIDI instrument, for example. Now it's gonna be fake because I don't have. You tell it where you want to go. So now all we have is like the audio port, for example, and and you just name it. What is it? Nothing. And then when you go here, you got your instrument that's just showing up nothing. So at home on my template, I have all my synths that are showing up there, so I know exactly where they are. Quickly earlier we were talking about workflow. My workflow is obviously all over the place, but I didn't talk about template, did I? Yeah, that's another really cool thing. I don't have a template here with me, unfortunately, to show you, but to have to customize whatever is going to be your way to start, like the easier way. So, for example, I always have on my bus one, I have like say like a long reverb. On bus two, shorter reverb. Then bus 3 and 4 will be delay, things like that. I know that bus 8 will be my drum, bus 9 will be my parallel. These little things really help a lot. It doesn't matter if you're going to end up using that reverb. It just means that when you start a session, when you want to open the reverb, you go here and you know there's a reverb here. Well, there's already one here, but so yes. Okay. So basically, we got the. When I was talking about the old sampler earlier, this is kind of the thing that's a chord that's going through that old sampler, and it sounds really dirty. And so that's the other thing too with using things outside the computer is that you can really get that dirt that often the computer will make everything sound too clean. It's funny because we used to go get away and want to like erase all the noise, and now we want to add it. If you listen to like a lot of dub stuff, for example, they have always this massive sound in the background. Just earlier I was recording sound from my tape deck from a cassette just at the end to put in the background of one of my tracks, and you can barely hear it. I mean, you can't really hear it unless like the breakdown. When you take it off, then all of a sudden it sounds all digital, and then you have just this sound in the background, and it's crazy what it does. It's just like adds this weird warmth. I don't know, really hard to explain. So yeah, that's it for this track. A lot of people were asking me about what can we talk a little bit about analog synthesizers. So this is my SH-101, which I've been I don't know if you guys like see like a little bit. So I brought this because I know that, well, I'm not sure what's the percentage, but I know that a lot of people nowadays, they never really get to see like a real synth. This is from the 80s, and this is basically what a lot of these things try to emulate. For example, software instrument like an ES1. By the way, my favorite soft synth instruments are the ones that are simple. I don't like the things that are too messy. So I like this because it's easy and it's pretty much the same thing. So just want to show a little bit how like in a matter of like just a few seconds you can change, you know, you can do like some really bassy sound. Oh, I have a reverb on this, that's why. So you get a vibe. Okay, so that's cool. You can really just really manipulate this within like a few things. Then all of a sudden you have kind of like a lead. Somehow I never was able to do this with like a soft synth, going like this with my hands and just going and creating a completely new sound. And then the other thing that's really cool too is, well, you know, possibilities are endless, but when you want to get into drums, which I'm not that good at yet, but sometimes I get. So to do this really nice disco stuff. And you can make some kicks. Let's take away the drum. So this can also be like mixed with another sound. So basically, so if we want more bass in that kick, you can just layer this on top. And then if you want to do your snares, so you get, okay, this is not the best snare in the world, but sometimes in the mix it's really nice. And basically you can also do like your hi-hats, record a sequence. Okay, this is not so convincing on its own, but when you play it in a track, you know, it can make like a world of difference. A lot of people have been using these kind of analog drums. You know, anyone from like the DFA crew or whatever, all the new disco people or new wave. So, yeah, any questions on synths or this one in particular? Yep.
Using a CV MIDI converter for all of your synths, or do you play it in live?
Both. So yeah, one thing I didn't say. This is not MIDI. So I was gonna bring a box, but I didn't because I already had a few things. So there's CV gate here, which these are mini jacks. Sometimes they can be big jack. You need a box in between your MIDI and this to control that. And then I can control from any MIDI keyboard. And you know, so I use that sometimes. Sometimes I play live. And on a project that we recently did, we had a lot of fun because we use my TR606. There's another thing in here. It's called external click in. it accepts like really high voltage sound. It needs to be really loud. So the TR-909 used to have an external click, which was a rim shot. Every time you hit the rim shot, when it's plugged in through there, you start the sequence. So, for example, I don't know, you have a sequence that goes. So your sequence maybe goes like. Okay, so basically every time you would hit it, it would do like one note at a time. So you would have to enter like basically a full 16th of rim shot to trigger that. And that can be really fun. We did this on track. We used the TR-606 to send signal in there, and it was as it was sequencing, we just started like turning the range and stuff like that. So you have like the sequencing. So it's a lot of fun. Again, it's something that is impossible to do there. It's completely impossible. And then we tried something with the SH9, the other one, the black one, where we only plugged the gate. So there was a sequence already, but there was no notes. So we entered the notes manually. So you have basically a rhythm going on. So it could be like whatever rhythm you put on your machine. And then you choose the notes, so you don't have to play like this really difficult sequence. You just choose when you want the notes to play towards the rhythm. So that was a lot of fun. So we ended up, well, I think I have the track here actually.